So we're making my version of a Gibson Firebird guitar, and this time we're going to make it really guitar-like by gluing the two wings onto the central section of the body. So stay tuned to see what was 23 pieces of wood finally become one guitar body. Okay, so the main aim for this episode is to get these body wings glued on to give us that iconic Firebird shape. However, the issue we've got is that obviously none of these are the same thickness. So we need to be really careful to make sure that these thinner bits are set up absolutely central to the thicker bits. Now that could be quite tricky to achieve, but I think I've got a technique that will help us along with that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut some little slots exactly central to this piece of material, 6mm wide, and I'm going to create some 6mm splines that will fit into them, and then I'll cut corresponding slots in these wings so that they're lined up the same. Obviously on this one, this cavity is a little bit of a complication, but what I'll probably do is just cut straight through that, and then when the spline is glued in position, I can just run the router around that area to clean it all off again. So to achieve this, first thing I need to do is get some centre lines marked onto these components so that I know I'm cutting in the right place. Okay, so next we need to set these up so that we can route these slots in. And the trouble we're going to have is this is like less than 40mm wide, and if we try and route on that, it's going to be really tippy and it's going to be extremely difficult to cut a straight slot into there that's kind of running at 90 degrees to this face edge. And it's important that we do that, otherwise this just isn't going to go together right. So to remedy that, I've got a nice stout piece of timber here, and I've checked, and this angle is dead on 90 degrees. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clamp these two in the vise together so that they're kind of as flush as I can get them at the top, and that will just give me a nice stable base for routing off, and then I'll still be able to run my fence along this front edge of the guitar body to make sure that I'm cutting exactly parallel. So that's given me a much more stable base now for the router. So I'm going to get the big router set up with its fence on the big base, and I'll get back to you when we're ready to get these routed in. So as always, I've set the router up with this V bit, and I've put the point of the V right onto the line in the centre of the guitar body, set the fence to that, and then I've swapped this bit out for just a 1/4 inch straight cutter. Can't see it because this router's got all sorts of gubbins on it. And then I've set the router up to plunge about 10mm in. It's not really important how far it goes in. I'll just cut my splines to match once we get to that. There you can see 2 slots cut in one side. So I just need to flip this over and do the other side, and then do exactly the same on the wings. Okay, so I've cut some little splines just out of some scrap wood, and they just slot in place there, and then the body half just slides onto them. So this is all ready to glue up now. However, I just want to stop there and talk about the side project for a bit. Now, I might have intimated in the last episode that I wasn't going to concentrate too much on the side project, and I was just going to show bits that were perhaps a bit different from the main build. Had some feedback on that. And generally people were saying that that actually wasn't what they wanted. They wanted to see the whole build. So I will focus a little bit more on the side build as well. Obviously I won't go into minute detail, but I will cover it in a bit more depth. So I've made a start on the side project. I haven't cut any wood yet, but I'm starting with the planning. And what I've got so far is I've actually found an online plan for a Firebird. I'm not sure how well this will show up in the lights. I found a full-size one in PDF format, so I was able to scale that down and print it. And this one I believe is printed at 65%, which is the correct percentage for the scale length. So the 17-inch scale length on the 10er uke is a roughly 65% of the 25.5-inch scale length that I'm doing this at. I've also done it, I've done one at 60 and I've done one at 55, just to see which one I think is the better fit. Now, to judge this, I've actually taken one of my old builds, which is another little 10er uke that I did, and I think the 65% one is about right for that. So I think that's what we needed to be heading at. Now, if any of you follows this channel, you might recognise this a little bit from the thin line Telecaster I did a year or so ago. This uke was actually the test project that I did for the first thin line Telecaster I built. Did this one probably 10 or 11 years ago now, and it's still really nice. Sapele back. It's actually a plain maple top with a flame maple veneer. You might be able to see that, but it is very nice. So yeah, so that's one of my very early fun little builds. But having established that this is probably about the right size, I can now start to lay out some templates and kind of draw up a full-size drawing of what I actually want to do. It's not going to look like this. It's only going to have one pickup for a start. We're still kind of figuring out what we're going to do with the bridge. I think it's going to be a hardtail Strat style 4 saddle bridge that you can get for cigar box guitars. I'm going to put a 4 pole piece humbucker in. Probably just going to have one volume. Don't think I'll even bother with a tone control. But other than that, it will be a kind of a direct replica of this build. So that's where we're at with the side build. Hopefully by next week we'll have some actual full-size drawings and then we can crack on with it. Right, so I'm actually going to glue this on in two goes. I think it's a bit too much to expect to be able to clamp it all in position and get everything lined up how I want it to in one. So I'm going to start with the bottom. So I'll just take the top off, kind of put those 2 splines in a safe place, and I'm just going to use regular tight bond. Okay, so I've just cleaned some of this glue up a bit better, and then I'll give that a couple of hours to set up and we can glue the other half on. Okay, so that's it all glued up. I'm going to clean up some of this excess glue because there is quite a bit, and then we'll just leave that to dry overnight. I've measured it and it all seems to have gone down really well, so there's like a really even kind of step back from this centre section onto the wings on both sides, so got to be really happy with that. Okay, and there it is, all glued up. Really happy with the way that's gone together. All these changes in height between the sections have really kind of come together nicely, and they're all very, very even along the length, so that's really good. A little bit of cleaning up to do. There's a bit of a step here that I need to kind of sand in, but realistically that's only a couple of minutes work with the bobbin sander. So there we have it. All of a sudden we've got something that looks very much like a Firebird. In terms of what I want to do next, and it's actually to move back onto this headstock area, because I'm going to put a veneer on there and we're going to have some inlay work done as well there. But I'm going to leave that till the next episode. So until then, like if you've liked, subscribe if you haven't already done so, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye bye.